Hi, Pinkies.
It's been a while, and you look great. I haven't talked to you in so long, and the strike is over. So I feel like so much has happened. I just want to talk about everything I watched, everything I've been doing, and what you've been up to, I guess. Leave in the comments. Lots of things have changed with me. I've been watching a lot of movies, working really hard on my film. I have a new poster person, Austin, SWE. Throughout the process of the movie filming, I've been trying to focus and only watch things that will benefit my filmmaking. So I try and watch comedies a lot, so Steven Universe is up there. The Office, I was just binging like crazy to the point where I wasn't getting anything done. I had to stop watching it. That comedy road led me to Our Flag Means Death, which is one of those shows that I had been putting off watching for a long time. I'd only seen like one clip from it. I really enjoy the show, especially later into the first season. I felt like it really grew into its own thing. The earlier bits of the first season and some of season 2, it feels kind of Netflix content where it's not trying to be its own thing. It's like lost in the sauce a little bit. Some of the improv feels weird. It definitely feels like it's shot on the volume. I really enjoy it. I like the representation it has. I like the way that it can handle violence paired with comedy. It's a great line that it walks. Since we're talking about TV and the volume, we have to talk about Ahsoka. Ahsoka is probably the most fun I've had with Star Wars content in a long time, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. I do remember thinking to myself a lot, they're definitely in the volume right now, they're definitely walking in a circle. There's this weird thing that happens where they'll all be in this circle, and so the witches will be here, and Baylan and Shin will be here, and Thrawn and Enoch will be over here, and so Enoch and Thrawn will step forward and they'll talk a little bit, and then they'll step back and the witches will step forward, and then they'll step back, and then Baylan will talk and they'll step back, and it kind of goes around in a circle in the room like some kind of play. The way I kind of like that, it's like back to the roots of TV where it's almost a bottle episode. There's lots of stuff where it just takes place in Ahsoka's ship. We really get to sit with the characters. In other ways, I do feel like Mando was kind of a cleaner show. It definitely had a great idea of what it was trying to do. Ahsoka has a lot of interesting ideas that's going to change Star Wars forever, but at the same time, I can see why some people didn't like it. It gets middling sometimes. I feel like there's less filler episodes than Mando for sure, but if you don't jive with the style of Ahsoka, you're not going to like any of it.
Are they? I don't know. They seem to have abilities like you. These days there are few who can wield the Force.
There was a period of time that I had access to one of my friend's Netflix accounts, and during that time I watched some older movies and some newer movies. There's a lot of stuff on Netflix that's kind of sat there that I've given like a 30-second chance and then went away from back when I watched Netflix, and one of those that I came back to look at was Kate. Kate is the kind of movie that I love because there's not a ton of story there, but the violence is really fun and the action is really good. Part of the reason that I went back to this was after Ahsoka, I really wanted to see what Mary Elizabeth Winstead could really do. I saw that she was in Kate, which is a movie that I'd only given maybe a 2-minute chance and decided I didn't want to watch. But returning back to it, it didn't let down. The colors are very 2020s. It's always super saturated, it's always very neon and Tokyo sort of cyberpunk aesthetic. It's one of those movies that you know is probably not going to age well. It's definitely going to be very indicative of the generation that it came out in. And it suffers from that Netflix thing where the characters feel kind of impermeable and gray and uninteresting. But at the same time, it gets so many things really entertainingly right. I enjoyed the heck out of that movie. And the next movie I watched was The Gray Man. I was really interested in watching The Gray Man because I had been toying with the idea of going back and watching some of the Marvel movies that were made by the Russo brothers. So I kind of wanted to see what kind of range they had outside of the Marvel universe, and The Gray Man is the obvious choice to look at. Unsurprisingly, I didn't really like The Gray Man. I actually, I couldn't bring myself to finish The Gray Man. Something about it was just very uninteresting to me. The way the action scenes were shot, where you could hardly see anything. Anytime something interesting would be introduced to the story, it would be pretty obvious to me that the Russo brothers were not interested in that concept, and they would take it away pretty quickly after that. It was very safe with the action. It felt like less gory than The Winter Soldier. And at some point, I just thought, this is not for me. I turned it off, and I actually wanted to go watch Kate again. One of the movies during the writer's strike that I watched in theaters was Blue Beetle.
Nice choice.
That one was so much fun. It was everything I wanted to go in and see. Jaime Reyes as a character has always been one that's been super interesting to me. A lot of people liken him to be a cross between Iron Man and Spider-Man, and I think he's more compelling than both of those characters because of his background, because of the way he's written, and because of the things that he's allowed to do in his stories, because DC's not afraid to get dark.
Man, has it hit you yet? Because it ain't hit me.
No.
Has it hit you? Nah, man. Are you guys okay? What the hell?
Search check complete.
Oh, not again! I think it just hit me.
Blue Beetle obviously took some Hollywood liberties to like smooth over the story, give him kind of a Marvel villain to face. But at the same time, it did stuff that I just didn't expect it to do. Background characters like Jaime's family became like actual characters. I found myself wanting to watch Blue Beetle just as much as I wanted to watch his grandma pick up the gun and shoot a bunch of guys. I had more fun with that movie than I have in a theater for ages. I really liked that one a lot, and I can't express enough how fun it was and how much of a treat it was to go to the theater and get to watch essentially a DVD movie on the big screen. Like, it feels small, it feels intimate, but at the same time, it hits those story beats, it gives you the feels. I cried like twice in the movie just because I'm a crier. I can't recommend that one enough. It's very, very fun and heartwarming and great. By the way, I got this new lens. It's super nice. It goes from 18 to 55 millimeters. Is also responsible for this video being blurred most of the way through. Sorry about that. My regular lens that I've been using goes 16 to 50 millimeters, which doesn't sound like a big difference, but as you can see here, look how blurred the background is. It does a great job, and it's got autofocus. I really like this lens a lot. One surprising feature of it is that there's a fish. I love it. I love the fish. It's such like a little surprise gift that I didn't expect. What I would call up in my top 2 movies of the year is Past Lives. I don't know how much you've heard about Past Lives. It's an A24 flick, highly recommended. Guillermo del Toro says it's one of the best movies like of the decade. I can't help but agree. It's not for everyone. If you don't like slice of life, you're not gonna like it. If you can't watch like a Gareth Edwards movie like Godzilla or Rogue One, where you kind of have to do some of the work that Gareth should be doing for you to get invested into the character because they feel so real. They feel more like a documentary than they do like actual characters in a movie. You might not connect with this one. I found myself sitting up a lot of the time when I would see interesting cinematography. There's a great shot when the 2 main characters are kids and their path splits up. One goes up and one goes down. That one was amazing. There's a lot of really long telephoto lenses in New York City. I love that stuff. It's very understated. The way that she meets her significant other is a very quiet moment. You don't expect him to be a big part of the story, but he ends up being a major character in the plot.
Hi. Hi. I'm Nora.
Worth a shot if you are interested in A24 style indie-ish movies. Another 2 movies that I've been watching a lot because I need to write dialogue for a jerk character is The Social Network and Steve Jobs. These are both David Fincher movies, I believe, and every time I watch them, I take notes on his dialogue. The way that Steve Wozniak will come up to Steve Jobs and really beg him to credit the people who made the Apple II, and Steve Jobs over and over again brushes him off and somehow gets away with it every single time, is really worth studying.
So, listen, I want to ask you a favor.
Yeah.
Can you acknowledge the Apple II team in your remarks?
I cannot.
Just an acknowledgement. Have them stand up.
Even things like where the camera's placed in those movies is really interesting to me, especially in the early parts of Steve Jobs. The camera's almost at waist level looking up at them. I believe the intention there is power dynamics, but they don't always frame the other character lower down. So the other thing I've been ruminating is that maybe it's supposed to be the perspective of his daughter, because in the oldest one, at waist level, as they move further into the timeline, the camera moves up. Finally, it's at head level. So maybe, again, how his daughter is growing up, which she really is one of the main focuses of the story, and she's kind of the heart of the movie. The Social Network also does the same stuff that Steve Jobs does on kind of a lower level, I would say. It's also interesting to see how David Fincher writes younger characters versus characters like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who are in their 30s and 40s. So yeah, both are just well worthy of studying. Another thing I got is this film camera. It's very fun to shoot with. I think anybody should try shooting with one of these because it's actually a lot cheaper than you would think it is. It's like $6 for a roll of film, and then to get them processed is like $5 on top of that. So it adds up, but at the same time, I'm not taking lots of film pictures. It's kind of like a 1-month trip to the local photography shop. I notice with these is I'll take a picture and I'll go, man, I can't wait to see that one come out. And then I go, oh, I got 10 more photos to take. And with a film camera, it's not like you're taking photos of your stuff you're eating and sending them off to people. You really only take pictures when it's really worth taking a picture. And then it's fun when they come out, sometimes you'll realize, oh, it was blurred or I didn't frame it properly. And so you learn. I wonder a lot if I was shooting my movie back when I would be shooting on film, how unforgiving that would have been, because I reshoot constantly, incessantly, all the time. It would have been a very interesting thing to do, to try and shoot everything on like VHS footage or something like that, just so that I have the challenge of doing it once and getting it right. I forgot to mention, I've been super obsessed with FNAF lately after watching the movie. I love Purple Guy, I love Chica's Little Cupcake, I love Mike. I even like the scene Mike and Vanessa have in that like weird suburban alleyway behind the houses. Super fun movie if you're into FNAF, but if you're into like real horror movies, maybe it won't work for you. FNAF? After I watched the movie, I immediately looked at lore videos until I got recommended by one of my friends this 8-hour, 47-minute conclusive lore video. I watched that thing, it was really, really good. I did a lot of work to like contextualize the games, talk about the community around them, the theories at the time, and you should watch it if you need like a really long video just to fill up your time. Usually I like to have some kind of theme or lesson or thing to talk about specifically when we do a Storytelling Saturday. But in this case, I'm just kind of happy that the strike is over, and I wanted to celebrate and kind of update you on where I've been and what I've been doing. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit more about the Gray Man and Kate at some point, but right now, this is what you're getting, because I can't really focus on a super detailed video. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. Bye, Pinkies!